Welcome back to Bank of CoinX. Imagine this. You're about to spend a simple 5-cent coin. Nothing special, just an ordinary Jefferson nickel. But what if that tiny coin in your hand is secretly worth $10,000, $50,000, or even over $100,000? Sounds crazy, right? But this is not a joke, and it's happening more often than you think. And first, rare and unique nickel let's play. This is not a joke, this is not clickbait, and this is not a recycled coin story. This is the real hidden side of American money. The kind of story most people walk past every single day without even knowing what they are holding in their hands today. We are diving deep into one of the most misunderstood and secretly hunted us coins, the 1989 Jefferson nickel, a coin. Millions of Americans used for coffee parking meters and vending machines, while a small group of collectors, dealers, and error hunters quietly searched for the rare versions worth hundreds, thousands, and in extreme cases, life-changing money. This video is not about face value. This is about knowledge, power, and awareness, because the difference between a common nickel and a rare one is not luck, it is information, and once you understand what makes a 1989 Jefferson nickel valuable, you will never look at pocket change the same way again. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American history since 1938, and by 1989, it was already a workhorse coin, produced in massive numbers, yet massive numbers do not mean zero value because within those numbers are mistakes, varieties, mint errors, and condition rarities that most people never notice. The 1989 Jefferson nickel was struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia and Denver, and each mint left behind its own clues, its own fingerprints, and its own rare survivors that now sit on want lists across the USA and beyond. What makes this year so interesting is that it sits right in the middle of modern coinage where quality control was high but not perfect, and those imperfections are exactly what collectors pay for doubled dies. Off-center strikes, wrong planchettes die, clashes weak strikes, full steps. Details and ultra-high-grade examples that survived untouched. All of these factors turn an ordinary 5-cent coin into something far more powerful, a silent asset hiding in plain sight. Imagine pulling a nickel from a roll and realizing it has razor-sharp steps on Monticello, untouched luster, blazing surfaces, and no signs of circulation. That kind of coin graded at the top levels can command serious money, and that is not a fantasy. That is auction history. Now imagine finding a 1989 nickel with doubling on the date or lettering, a subtle shadow that most people miss, but collectors instantly recognize. That tiny detail can multiply value many times over. And then there are mint errors, the kind that should never have left the mint coins. Struck off-center coins, with clipped planchettes coins, struck on the wrong metal. These are the coins that break the rules, and collectors love rule breakers because they tell a story of how money is made and how the system sometimes slips for a moment and lets something extraordinary escape. This video is made for the everyday person, the roll hunter, the beginner collector, and even the seasoned numismatist who knows that modern coins are still full of surprises. You do not need ancient coins to find value. You do not need gold to find profit. You need awareness, patience, and a sharp eye, because the 1989 Jefferson nickel proves that even in the modern era, rare coins are still being found, still being graded, and still being sold for prices that shock the public. This is why people say, check your change. This is why coin shops buy rolls. This is why some collectors never stop searching, because the next great find does not announce itself. It waits quietly in a drawer, a jar, a pocket, or a bankroll until someone who knows what to look for finally sees it. And in this video, we are going to break it all down, step by step: what to look for, how to identify valuable traits, which mint marks matter, which errors bring the biggest premiums, how grading changes everything, and why condition is king when it comes to modern nickels. This is not fast money, this is smart money. This is education turned into opportunity, and by the end of this journey, you will understand why the 1989 Jefferson nickel has become one of the most searched modern U.S. coins among collectors who know that the real treasure is not always old, it is always rare. Listen carefully, because what you are about to hear could completely change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your pocket, right? Now, this is not hype, this is not guessing, this is real United States coin history and real collector demand. Today we are talking about one of the most misunderstood yet secretly hunted coins in America. The 1984 Jefferson nickel, a coin millions of people ignore every day, yet certain versions of this coin are being searched for, hunted for, and paid premium money by serious collectors and era hunters all over the USA and around the world. If you have ever wondered whether a modern nickel could be valuable, stay with me, because by the end of this video you will understand why the 1984 Jefferson nickel has become one of the most wanted modern-era nickels, and why some examples are worth far more than 5 cents. And before we go any further, let me be clear, this video is for educational purposes only, but everything you hear is based on real auction results, real collector behavior, and real mint errors that exist right now. Jefferson nickel has been part of American life since 1938, and by 1984 the design had already become iconic, with Thomas Jefferson on the front and Monticello on the back. But what most people do not realize is that 1984 was a very interesting year for the United States Mint. Production pressures, quality issues, and small, unnoticed mistakes created opportunities that only sharp eyes would catch. Today, those small differences are exactly what collectors are paying attention to. And that is why the 1984 Jefferson nickel deserves serious attention. 1984, nickels were struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia and Denver, and millions upon millions were produced, which leads people to assume they are all common and worthless. But coin value is not just about mintage numbers. Value comes from condition, rarity, errors, varieties, and demand. And this is where the story of the 1984 Jefferson nickel gets exciting, because while most circulated examples are common, there are specific versions that stand out dramatically. First, condition is everything. A 1984 Jefferson nickel that has never circulated with full original mint luster, sharp strikes, and nowhere can already be worth many times face value, especially in certified high grades. Collectors compete aggressively for coins graded Ms. 66, Ms. 67, and higher, because very few survive in that condition after decades of circulation and storage problems. Many were bag-marked, many were poorly struck, and many lost their luster early, which makes clean, sharp examples far scarcer than people think. Then we move into the real heart of the hunt: mint errors and varieties. This is where casual coin holders become serious treasure hunters, because errors are where the money lives. With the 1984 Jefferson nickel, we are talking about off-center strikes, broad strikes, doubled dies, die cracks, cuds, misaligned dies, and weak strike anomalies, especially on Monticello and Jefferson's hair and eye details. Some of these errors are dramatic and obvious, others are subtle and require close inspection, but both types are collectible and valuably owned. Of the most talked about issues with nickels is strike quality, especially from certain mint runs. Some coins show mushy details while others show crisp, sharp features, and when a coin breaks that pattern and displays exceptional detail, collectors take notice, because it suggests a limited production window or early die state, which increases desirability. Another major factor is transitional interest. Many collectors focus on the 1980s as a period when mint quality fluctuated, and that makes error coins from this era even more interesting, because they reveal what was happening behind the scenes at the mint, when speed sometimes mattered more than perfection, and those rushed moments are exactly what created collectible mistakes. No, imagine this scenario: you check a jar of old nickels or receive change at a store, and among them is a 1984 Jefferson nickel that looks just a little different. Maybe the date is slightly doubled, maybe Monticello looks off-center, maybe there is a raised blob of metal where it should not be. That is when knowledge turns into opportunity, and that is why videos like this matter, because the person who knows what to look for is the person who finds value where others see nothing. This video continues. We will break down each valuable 1984 Jefferson nickel type step by step. We will talk about mint marks, errors, grades, realistic values, and how collectors actually buy and sell these coins today. We will also talk about how to safely check your coins at home without damaging them, and how to avoid common mistakes that cause people to miss valuable purchases. If you are serious about old US coins, if you love the thrill of the hunt, if you want to understand how a simple nickel can become a collectible asset, then stay with me. Watch this video all the way through, and most importantly, start checking your change, because the 1984 Jefferson nickel you ignore today could be the most interesting coin you own tomorrow. I'm not joking, and this is not clickbait. Today we are diving deep into one of the most misunderstood and secretly hunted coins in American pocket change. The 1971 Jefferson nickel, a coin that millions of people have spent without a second thought, and yet hidden among those ordinary nickels are pieces that collectors, dealers, and serious treasure hunters search for every single day. If you have ever wondered whether a small 5-cent coin could actually change your life, you are in the right place. Because this video is not about face value, this is about rarity, history, mistakes, mint secrets, and the real reasons why some 1971 Jefferson nickels sell for prices that shock even experienced collectors. So settle in, relax, and stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you will never look at a nickel the same way again. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American history since 1938, and by 1971, the coin had already gone through decades of changes in metal quality, striking pressure, mint technology, and public use, which makes this year especially interesting because it sits at a crossroads between older, stronger strikes and the mass production era, where errors and weak details became more common, and those mistakes are exactly what collectors crave. In 1971, the United States minted hundreds of millions of nickels across 3 major mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and at first glance, they all look the same, but collectors know better because value lives in the details, and the smallest detail can turn an ordinary pocket coin into a highly desirable collectible worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And yes, this is real money, not rumors, not internet myths, but documented auction results and private sales. So let's talk about why the 1971 Jefferson nickel matters, and why so many collectors call it a sleeper coin. First, the design itself features Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. And while this design stayed mostly the same for decades, the quality of the strike varied greatly. In 1971, many nickels were struck with worn dies, which caused weak steps on Monticello, and those steps are one of the most important value drivers. In Jefferson nickels, full steps are the holy grail when it comes to these coins, and finding a true faux steps 1971 nickel is extremely difficult, especially in high mint state condition. Collectors pay massive premiums for nickels with 5 or 6 full steps, clearly visible and authenticated by grading services, and this is where the real money starts. Even a common 1971 nickel can jump in value instantly if it has strong full steps, sharp details, and no major damage, and most people never check for this, which is why valuable coins still hide in circulation rolls and old collections. Next, let's talk about mint marks. Because in 1971, you have 3 options: no mint mark from Philadelphia AD, mint mark from Denver, and an S mint mark from San Francisco. Each one tells a different story. Philadelphia nickels were produced in huge numbers, but finding one with a clean strike and full steps is rare. Denver nickels often show weaker strikes, but error coins from Denver are especially popular, and San Francisco nickels were often proof strikes made for collectors. Yet even proofs can be valuable if they show rare varieties, cameo contrast, or striking anomalies. And yes, even proof nickels can have errors, which blows the minds of new collectors and keeps experienced ones hunting year after year. Now, let's get into errors, because this is where excitement really explodes. Error coins are the rebels of the coin world. They were never supposed to exist, and yet they slipped through quality control and ended up in pockets, cash registers, and collections. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchettes, wrong planchette errors, and die cracks all exist for the 1971 Jefferson nickel, and each type carries its own level of rarity and value. A strong double die on the date or lettering can turn a 5-cent coin into a 3-figure or even 4-figure collectible, and these are not fantasy numbers. These are real results from collectors who knew what to look for and took the time to examine their coins under magnification. Die cracks and cuds add another layer of appeal because they show the life and death of a coin die, and each one is unique, meaning no 2 error coins are exactly the same, which drives demand through the roof. Now, condition is everything, and this cannot be stressed enough. A 1971 nickel that is worn smooth from decades of use will usually be worth face value, but the same coin in mint state with original luster, sharp details, and no cleaning can be worth many times more. Grading services like PCGs and NGC play a huge role here because certified coins bring trust and higher prices at auction. Top population, coins, meaning the best-known examples graded at the highest levels, are fiercely contested by collectors building registry sets, and when two collectors want the same top coin, prices can skyrocket in seconds, and that is how seemingly boring modern nickels end up selling for shocking amounts. Now here is the part most people miss. Storage and survival rates matter. Millions were minted, but how many survived in perfect condition? Very few. Most were spent dropped, scratched, cleaned, or melted down over time, and that is why high-grade examples are scarce and valuable. If you inherited a collection, found old bankrolls, or saved coins from the early 70s, you could be sitting on something special without even knowing it. And this is why checking your coins is so important. Now imagine the thrill of finding a full steps 1971 D nickel or a dramatic era coin in a roll you paid $5 for. That moment is what drives collectors and keeps this hobby alive and profitable. And we are just getting started, because as this video continues, we will break down each mint in detail, explore real-world values, tell you exactly what to look for step by step, and share insider tips that collectors use to spot valuable nickels fast. So if you are serious about coins or just love the idea of hidden treasure in everyday money, stay tuned, because the 1971 Jefferson nickel has more secrets than most people ever realize, and the next one you see might be worth far more than 5 cents. Say more script when you are ready, and we will keep going deeper. Coin hunters, history lovers, and real treasure seekers, today you are not watching an ordinary coin video. You are stepping into a hidden chapter of American money that most people walk past every single day. This is the story of the 1987 Jefferson nickel, a coin that millions ignored, a coin that looks common, a coin that still hides shocking value secrets, errors, and collector demand that can turn pocket change into serious money. If you think only old silver coins matter, stay right here, because what you are about to hear will completely change how you look at modern U.S. coins forever. The 1987 Jefferson nickel was born in a time of big change in America, a time of rising markets, Cold War tension, and everyday people spending coins without a second thought. Yet inside that ordinary year, some nickels were struck different, some were saved, some were damaged in just the right way, and some were never meant to exist the way they do today. And collectors know this, dealers know this, and serious coin hunters are quietly searching rolls, banks' collections, and old jars right now, hoping to find one of these sleepers. Before prices exploded, Jefferson nickel itself already carries deep American history. Introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, it features Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States, and the iconic image of Monticello, his home. And by 1987, the design had been in circulation for nearly 50 years. Yet what makes 1987 special is not just the date, it is the combination of mint behavior, production quality, strike variations, and survival rates that create real value today. In 1987, nickels were struck at two main mints, Philadelphia and Denver, with no mint mark, meaning Philadelphia, and a small d, meaning Denver. And while millions were made, far fewer were saved in high grade. Most were used heavily, scratched, dropped, run through vending machines, and destroyed by everyday life, which is exactly why pristine examples are now rare. And valuable collectors pay attention to condition, and in the world of coins, condition is everything. A 1987 Jefferson nickel with sharp steps on Monticello, strong strike, full detail, and nowhere can be worth many times face value. And when you add professional grading into the mix, prices can jump dramatically. Coins graded Ms. 67, Ms. 68, and above become elite survivors. And auction records show that top-graded 1987 nickels have sold for surprising amounts, shocking people who once laughed at the idea of a modern nickel being valuable. But this is where the real excitement begins, because condition is only the surface. Story-era coins are where legends are born, and 1987 produced its share of dramatic errors. Off-center strikes doubled, dies weak, strikes clipped planchettes, and die cracks that look like lightning frozen in metal. Some of these errors happened during rushed production. Others came from worn dies, pushed beyond their limits, and a few slipped through quality control, untouched by human eyes until collectors discovered them years later. Imagine finding an 87 nickel struck off-center so far you can see blank metal. Imagine a doubled die where Jefferson's face looks like it is vibrating. Imagine a clipped planche, missing a curved bite from the edge. These are real. These exist, and they sell for real money. One of the most hunted varieties is the 1987 full steps. Nickel collectors pay close attention to the steps of Monticello on the reverse, and if all steps are clearly visible with no breaks, the coin earns the full steps designation, which dramatically increases value, especially from Denver Mint, where strike quality was inconsistent in 1987. Finding a 1987 D nickel with full steps is like finding a needle in a haystack, and that is why serious collectors pay premiums for them. There is the emotional side of coin collecting, the thrill of the hunt, the idea that history is still hiding in plain sight inside bank rolls, cash drawers, old coffee cans, and inherited collections. The 1987 Jefferson nickel represents hope for new collectors because it proves you do not need ancient coins to make money. You need knowledge, patience, and sharp eyes. This is why YouTube coin channels grow fast, because people love the idea that treasure is still out there waiting to be found, and this is why this coin matters. As we move deeper into this video, we will break down mint by mint value charts, real auction sales, arrow types, grading tips, how to spot fake errors, how to store your finds, and how the market for 1987 nickels is quietly heating up while most of the world is distracted. We will talk about why some coins jump in value suddenly, what happens when registry competition increases, and how a simple 5-cent piece can become a centerpiece of a serious collection. So do not go anywhere. Smash that like button, stay focused, and keep your eyes open, because by the end of this video, you will never ignore a 1987 Jefferson nickel again. And when you see one, you will know exactly what to look for, exactly what to avoid, and exactly how much it could be worth. I'm not joking when I say some of the most wanted USA old coins are still hiding in plain sight. And today, we are diving deep into one of the most misunderstood and secretly valuable coins in American history. The 1980 Jefferson nickel, a coin that millions of people have held, spent, ignored, and forgotten. Yet inside this ordinary-looking 5-cent piece, there are rare errors, low mintage varieties, high-grade survivors, and collector demand stories that can turn pocket change into serious money. This is not clickbait. This is not fantasy. This is real numismatic history backed by collectors, auctions, and decades of coin hunting experience. So if you have ever searched your change rolls, opened an old drawer, inherited a jar of coins, or dreamed about finding a valuable USA coin without spending thousands, then this video is for you. Because the 1980 Jefferson nickel represents the perfect storm of modern circulation coins. Mass production, mixed with quality control problems, aging dies, mint errors, economic pressure, and collector psychology all coming together in one single year. Now, before we go further, let me say this clearly. Not every 1980 nickel is valuable. Most are worth face value, but some are worth $10, $50, $100, and in rare cases, even more. And the difference between a common nickel and a valuable one comes down to tiny details. Details that most people never look at. Details that banks, cashiers, and even some collectors miss every single day. The year 1980 sits at a fascinating moment in U.S. history. Inflation was high, metal prices were rising. The U.S. Mint was under pressure to produce huge quantities of coins quickly, and quality suffered as a result, which is exactly what era collectors love. During 1980, the Jefferson nickel was struck at 3 mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and each one tells a different story. Philadelphia nickels from 1980 carry no mint mark and were produced in massive numbers. Yet many show weak strikes, dieware, and off-center details. Denver nickels with the D mint mark are famous for strike issues and doubled features, while San Francisco produced proof coins that were never meant for circulation, but even those proofs can become valuable if they show special characteristics or survive in perfect condition. Now imagine this: you open a roll of nickels and you see a 1980 date. Most people would toss it aside, but a trained eye slows down, looks closer, checks the date, spacing, the lettering, the mint mark position, the steps on Monticello, the surface texture, the weight, the alignment, because that is where the money hides. One of the most valuable features collectors look for on a 1980 Jefferson nickel is a strong full steps designation. Full steps means the steps on Monticello are clearly defined and unbroken, and because 1980 nickels were often weakly struck, finding a true full steps Example is extremely rare, especially from Philadelphia or Denver, when one appears in high grade. Collectors compete hard and prices climb quickly. Auction records show, certified 1980, nickels with full steps selling for hundreds of dollars, simply because they are so hard to find in that condition. But full steps are only the beginning errors. Are where things get really exciting, off-center strikes, where the design is pushed to one side, broad strikes, where the coin spreads wider than normal clipped planchettes, where a piece of the coin is missing due to metal, cutting mistakes, double strikes, where the coin was struck more than once and rotated dies, where the front and back are misaligned. All of these have been found on 1980 nickels, and every one of them adds value, sometimes dramatically. And then there are doubled dies, one of the most hunted varieties in modern coin. Collecting a doubled die happens when the die itself is doubled during the creation process, causing letters, numbers, or details to appear doubled on every coin struck by that die. On some 1980 nickels, doubling can be seen in the date, the word liberty, or the motto, "In God We Trust," and many of these coins are still undiscovered because people do not know what to look for, or they assume modern coins cannot be valuable, which is exactly why opportunities still exist today. Roll hunters across the United States continue to find valuable 1980 Jefferson nickels in bank rolls, proving that this hunt is very much alive and real. And as the years pass and high-grade examples disappear into collections, the remaining coins become scarcer, driving demand even higher. And we are just getting started, because next we will break down exact mint-by-mint details, known varieties, how to spot fake errors, how to grade your coin at home, and real-world prices paid by collectors. So stay with me, because the nickel you ignored yesterday might be the one everyone is searching for tomorrow.